꽞ᴟᴟᴏᴡ is one of the most decorated chefs in history, with a legacy that includes the record for being the youngest chef to receive 3 Michelin stars at a time. And yet, in 2024, everything Marco stood for is overshadowed by the global success of his once apprentice.
My second option was to live a lie, to pretend I cook when I don't cook, continue to charge high prices, question my own integrity in everything that I've ever worked for.
Gordon Ramsay you're describing here, yes?
I'm just giving you a little bit of clarity.
And sure, a student surpassing his teacher isn't a new concept, but what makes this particular story stand out is the decades-long relationship between Marco
il a fait
and
pleurer Gordon,
which has been anything but smooth, and even escalated to the point of Marco stating that he would never speak to Gordon Ramsay again.
Oh no.
Chez nous, on se commande du Luffa parce que
No.
la livraison à domicile, c'est tellement pratique pour notre réalité familiale.
Nous, on se commande du loufa.
And while it's important we learn about the history between these two titans of the culinary world, thanks to today's partner, MyHeritage, a platform that uses
yo, ça va les ads?
Intimidate MyHeritage. The video. Enter Marco Pierre White,
My
a
bad,
charismatic, intimidating, and frankly handsome bloke who also happened to be an excellent chef. His TV presence broke the negative stereotypes surrounding chefs and popularized the concept.
Il a tellement l'air d'un dude qui fume la clope pis qui se saoule la gueule, bro, à chaque fucking jour depuis genre qu'il a fucking 15 ans, là.
Of the
Sur le gros vin, là, qui finit toutes ses soirées, bro, tout croche, la gueule toute mauve, gros, à fumer de la grosse tabac, là.
Chef that is all too common today. This isn't to say that he was some wholesome Mr. Rogers type figure, because he still had the attitude and foul mouth of a pro chef.
Get your act together, boys, for sake. Come on, you get out the. Hey, come here. What the is this shit?
But his overall personality was still charming enough to overshadow this behavior and make him a celebrity. However, it was his apprentice
Genre de
Gordon
G qui
Ramsay
sent les
who
cheveux de
showed just how
serveuse.
popular a culinary expert can
Genre
get
de
in the media
Predator,
world.
ouais.
Gordon transcended the label of celebrity chef and became a global celebrity with fans from around the world, many of which likely have zero interest in Michelin stars or the luxury world of high-end cooking in general. But the story of Gordon being a diamond in the rough was built through calluses and years of pressure under Master Marco.
Bro, vous pensez qu'il avait quel âge Gordon là-dessus, bro? Parce qu'il a l'air d'être fucking jeune, mais il a quand même l'air vieux. Y a-tu déjà eu l'air jeune, ce dude-là, comme ever? Je serais curieux de voir, il avait l'air de quoi, comme fucking genre 10-12 ans, bro. Je suis sûr qu'il avait déjà des rides, man, pis comme des gens receding hairline, pis
You
tout,
see,
bro.
Marco started his career in cooking with pure passion and flair for the art behind the profession. He first trained at a few hotels and restaurants in Yorkshire, before moving to London in 1981 when he was just 17 to train classical French cuisine under Albert and Michel Roux, with just £7 to his name. 6 years later, still at the ripe age of 23, Marco opened his own restaurant called Harvey's in London, to great
Harvey's?
success. So much so that he received his first Michelin star soon after the restaurant's opening, and another star just a year later. By 1995, Marco Pierre White became the first British chef to be awarded 3 Michelin stars, all while he was just 33 years old.
High quality. Ok, honnêtement, ça je suis curieux, je savais pas, bro. Michelin Star 1, c'est high quality cooking worth a stop. That's it. Excellent cooking worth a detour. Et fait que 2, ça vaut le détour. 3, worth a special journey. Et fait que si t'as un restaurant 3 étoiles Michelin, comme ton shit, il est comme certified, là, comme le monde, ils vont aller en voyage pour goûter à ton shit, là. Ou comme ça va faire partie de leur itinéraire de voyage, là, d'aller, you know?
However, just when his career was at his peak, Marco did something that no chef
savais pas,
had
pour
the
vrai.
audacity to do before. He became the first chef in history to give back all 3 of his Michelin stars, giving a big double-fingered fuck you to the institution that dishes out status. And his reasoning was quite simple.
And this little thought came into my head. And that thought was, Marco, you're being judged by people who have less knowledge than you. So what's it all worth? What have I worked all these years for?
In other words, his own understanding and appreciation for the art of cooking was worth more to him than the most prestigious honour a chef can receive. He cared less about the fame of being a 3 Michelin star chef and just wanted to perfect his cooking skills, essentially letting the food do the talking. What made this baller move so truly epic, however, is that Marco giving away the stars didn't impact his reputation one bit. Instead, this stunt shook people's faith in the Michelin star group and started a phenomenon that is still going strong some.
Ok, mais ouais, ça je suis pas sûr de comprendre, chat, pis fuck you, ouais, j'ai arrêté la vidéo. Je suis pas sûr de comprendre. Mettons, là, il reçoit son 3 stars Michelin bagaille, right? Est-ce que s'il décide de tout changer son menu, comme il se fait retirer cette étoile-là, ou comme t'es certified Michelin 3 étoiles dès que tu l'as, pis t'es good, là? Parce qu'il avait l'air de parler comme quoi qu'il s'est fait retirer ses étoiles, you know?
25 years later. In fact, through the years, Marco's views on Michelin stars have gotten even worse.
There's a great book called *ʞᴏᴟᴏᴏ by the American journalist called Bernstein. And there's also the book by Bernard Loiseau. And if you read what the old inspectors of Michelin said within those 2 books, and then you listen to the modern day Michelin inspector, they're worlds apart. The great man Michel Negelan, Mr. Brown, who was then Inspector of England and then became the head inspector of France, what that you had to do was prove consistency over many years before they dished out the stars. They had to believe in you. And secondly, you had to be behind your stove. They would never give 3 stars to a chef who wasn't behind his stove. As I say, today, in my opinion, they dish out stars like confetti.
However, this all fits
Yo,
perfectly
shots fired,
with
là.
Pierre
Il dit que c'est peut-être un
simplistic view of the
scam, bro.
culinary profession. When asked how to succeed by an aspiring chef, this is what he had to say.
Moi, je le trust,
If you
big.
cook the best fish and chips in England, you'll become famous. If you make the best bacon and eggs in the morning with beautiful organic eggs and beautiful bacon, you'll become famous. If you want to win a Michelin star in your restaurant, then buy beautiful produce and keep it simple. And cook food that you want to eat, not what you think they might want to eat, because it's got to be an extension of you as a man.
Unfortunately, his former apprentice Gordon
Il
Ramsay
deep là dans
held
sa,
plans
dans
that
sa
went
cuisine,
against
ce boy-là,
Marco's
là.
philosophies. Gordon
Shit.
began his apprenticeship in the mid-1980s when he was just 19 years old.
Wait up! C'est lui à 19 ans, bro? Avoue qu'il a déjà l'air d'avoir... Yo, mon gars, il a déjà l'air vieux à 19, là. Am I tripping? Peut-être un peu moins là-dessus, là. Parce qu'il y a comme plein de lumière, whatever, sur cette photo-là. Il a déjà l'air quand même vieux, là.
Apprenticeship in the mid-1980s when he was just 19 years old.
I mean, oh, we finished. Oh. Right, I didn't realise. Have you gone through twice? Yes. Oh, right.
Though, as one commenter on YouTube points out, even at 19, Gordon looks like a stressed 40-year-old chef. Which is not an inaccurate assumption, since at the time, Gordon was constantly working 16 hours a day, every day. Overworking to this extent couldn't have been good for Gordon's health, but diamonds are made under pressure. To make matters worse, Marco was not exactly nice in the kitchen either. There are several reports of his abusive outbursts. Even the customers were not safe from his wrath, as he once famously kicked out 8 different customers in just 2 weeks.
Someone told me that you kicked out 8 people in the last 2 weeks. What were the reasons for that?
I think that's right. 8 people in 2 weeks. God, I'm below par.
Why did you do it?
That's all. They must have knocked off an O.
Why did you do it?
Why did I do it? Well, basically, I'm here 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. This is like my house. This is like my home. When I cook every night, it's cooking for people who hopefully are appreciative. And as I say, 95% are very appreciative. You've got that other 5% who are incredibly rude, obnoxious. They click their fingers, they arrive late. And I don't want those people in my house.
Chad, vous savez si vous avez travaillé dans quelconque sphère publique, bro, vous savez exactement de quel genre de personne qui parle. Peu importe le service que tu vas offrir, peu importe le produit que tu vas offrir, il y a du monde qui sort de chez eux pour chercher le beef, bro. Ils sortent de chez eux pour chercher la merde, gros. Que ce soit à l'épicerie, au dep, bro, au resto, man, dans l'autobus, peu importe, bro.
If I came to your house for a dinner party and I was obnoxious,
Kick these fuckers out, là. Comme, ouais, tu peux te la jouer, allez, vas-y, man. Va manger ton McD's, là. You know?
But just because they're paying for it, they think they can be rude and obnoxious. Well, in Harvard, they don't get a bill. You just ask them to leave. I don't want their money.
So it's safe to assume that his staff members, including Ramsay, were in the firing line as well. At one point, Marco's barrage of insults got to the extent of breaking his student. Yes, the very same Gordon Ramsay that makes other people cry. Gordon was left...
La stupid sandwich, bro. Ça, c'est the golden TV moment forever.
The sniffling mess due to Marco's abusive remarks. He said, "I don't care what you do to me, hit me, I don't care, sack me, I don't care," while weeping on the floor. And when asked about the incident in an interview years later, Marco was still completely indifferent to it.
No, I didn't make Gordon Ramsay cry.
Idiot
He made himself
sandwich,
cry.
like.
That was his choice to cry.
But on the flip side, Marco did genuinely care for Gordon and wanted to see him succeed. He would beat the shit out of me, in a nice way, where you get elbowed and pushed and shoved. That's how you learn. I think Marco saw a bit of himself in me. He was such a mentor. He knew how important my mum was to me, and he understood how bad my little brother's addiction was. I knew what I wanted, but I hadn't found the right person yet, and Marco was like a big brother. Gordon's admiration for Marco also came from a similar place.
Qu'est-ce qu'il fait avec deux smokes dans sa gueule puis un snipe? C'est pas un chef, ce dude-là? What?
Of relatability.
I think we had similar backgrounds. He lost his mum at a young age.
Deux smokes,
His father didn't
un
have a
snipe.
relationship, so I think you sort of you attach yourself to
Dude,
similar circumstances.
Don't fuck
His
around
work
avec ce
ethic and
dude-là. là.
passion for the craft also inspired Gordon to do better, leading to the name Ramsay becoming world famous with breakout roles on Ramsay's Boiling Point and then later on popular shows like Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef. Today, Gordon has also received 17 Michelin stars, which is an
Oh.
absurd number considering most chefs never get to see
pas
a
trois le
single
max,
one.
comment qu'il y en
So
a
the
17,
question is,
big?
how did this oddly sweet relationship between
Il a
Marco
craqué le
and
code, lui,
Gordon
là.
turn so bitter? The thing about the Gordon-Marco feud is that it wasn't due to any single incident that sparked a fight. Instead, it was a culmination of years of resentment and mistreatment that led to the pair falling out after working with each other for nearly 15 years. And since there was no big fight to kick off this feud, fans of the chefs were wondering what happened. However, in 2006 during an interview with The Telegraph, citing two main reasons behind the tattered relationship. The first of which was Gordon's way of doing things as a chef.
Plus qu'un
Marco
resto
said,
makes
"You
sense."
can't be a chef and appear on television all the time. It's impossible. At least when I earned my stars, I was always behind my stove." This makes perfect sense coming from someone who gives very little value to Michelin stars, hinting that over the years the institutional rating system has lost its prestige. From his perspective, Gordon increased his focus on the media side of things while ignoring
c'est
the
sûr,
actual
bro.
cooking part of the process, which went against his fundamental teachings. Which is true, but is it wrong? A
C'est parce que ce qui arrive, c'est que Gordon Ramsay, il est plus un chef aujourd'hui, il est rendu comme une célébrité, là. Il est rendu comme une figure, là. C'est plus un chef, ce là. Yo, what up, cut?
student doesn't have to tread the exact same path as their teacher, especially when
Ouais, je t'entends, allô, allô, allô?
Yo,
Yo, what up, man?
comment
Oh.
tu m'entends? Mon mic est sur fermé. What the
Gros,
fuck?
je t'entends, gros, tu penses cacher ta voix avec tes fous, hein? Enfin.
Oui, bébé, j'ai pris mes
Oh,
écouteurs de
bébé, ok, ça part, gros. Hey, ça part, je finis de checker un petit vidéo quick, là.
they're exceptional at something slightly different, like being a media personality in Gordon's case. So resenting Gordon for not doing exactly what he wanted is not really justified. However, the same can't be said about the next reason Marco mentioned, which was about when Gordon showed up to his second wedding with a camera crew
Il a l'air
without
d'un
informing
boss, ce
the
dude-là, pour
couple.
vrai.
To make it worse, Gordon didn't even bother telling them after showing up, and only found out about it when the footage was aired on TV without permission. In fact, the first we knew about it was when we switched on the television to watch one of his programs and saw footage of our big day on the screen. Now, that's disgusting behaviour, isn't it? You tell me, is that the correct way to treat your so-called friend? I don't think so. Marco also recalled an
Cheers, dog.
incident where Gordon used one of his former boss's analogies about footballers and chefs, and then turned it against him. I had given an
Pourquoi qu'il se lichait les lèvres comme ça, lui, big?
Interview in which I
Chill
said that
out,
just
là.
not all good footballers make good managers. Not all good chefs make good restaurateurs. Then I read an interview he gave and saw that he was saying exactly the same thing, but implying I was a good chef but not a good restaurateur. However, what this interview also misses out on is arguably one of the biggest cracks that formed between the two chefs. An incident that involved Gordon accusing Marco of petty theft. To give some context, the year was 1998, where computers were practically non-existent in the restaurant industry, so restaurants had to keep track of reservations the traditional way, by confirming reservations over the phone and then writing them down in a ledger called the reservation book. This process was so important that Marco revealed that at one point his monthly phone bill was over £1,000. So as you can imagine, this reservation book was the lifeblood of high-end restaurants, including Gordon Ramsay's aubergine restaurant. However, one day, an unidentified man pulled up outside the restaurant on a scooter, dived in, snatched the book, and bolted immediately. This was a serious act of sabotage on the restaurant, which now had to contend with losing its reputation due to disappointed customers, and no one knew who the perpetrator was. And while everyone else was looking for clues on who it could be, Gordon did something unspeakable. He pointed the finger at his former mentor, Marco Pierre, and accused him of petty theft in the hopes of stifling the success of Gordon's restaurant. It was a baseless accusation without any proof, but the worst part about this whole story is that Gordon Ramsay himself hatched a plan for this heist, and this only got out when he admitted to committing the crime almost a decade later in 2007. It was me, I nicked it. I blame Marco, because I knew that would fuck him and that would call off the dogs. I still have the book in a safe at home. Gordon arranged for the biker to steal it. He further explained, "It was my one stroke of genius, fucking someone over without his knowing that I was the one who done it.
Yes,
And the
scam.
restaurant owners cutting Marco off and wanting to get closer to me, kissing my ass. You always eat that fucking revenge when it's cold, don't you? Trust me, this was stone cold." I think this situation really displays how cutthroat the high-end culinary industry is. Ego and reputation is everything. Fortunately, the lack of any evidence protected Marco's reputation, allowing him to move forward in his career without much trouble. But this one incident could have just as easily ruined his legacy forever. The silver lining in this whole story is that after decades of beefing with each other, Marco and Gordon finally made up, and started talking again after Marco visited one of Gordon's restaurants for a burger. The complexity of this student-teacher relationship has become one of admiration of excellence and mutual respect between two masters of their craft. It's super interesting to see how two people with very similar mindsets and skills, baked under similar pressures, can be so different and find success in different ways. Thank you so much for watching this video, it really does mean a lot to me. Don't forget to check the description below of this video for a 14-day free trial of My Heritage.
Ok, puis y a pas une meilleure explication à pourquoi comment ils se sont comme réconciliés, genre? Moi, j'étais manger un hamburger, that's it. Ok.